Engines roared above the crimson moons of Paraxis, casting shadows across the condemned. I watched from the bridge as the transport ship disappeared into the black, carrying the first human ever sentenced to Eclipse Vault. Not a killer, not a tyrant, just different. The council called him unstable. I called him an underestimator. He's not like the others, I whispered, eyes still on the stars. Commander Vell glanced at me. He'll vanish in that place. Everyone does. But I wasn't so sure. The vault had never known chaos, never known human will. And as I watched that streak of silver vanishes, a tremor crawled down my spine. Something was about to break. Buried inside a rogue planet orbiting a dead star, the Eclipse Vault was a fortress layered in quantum distortion fields and dark matter shells. No one escaped, no one ever tried. Until him. Prisoner 001H, stripped of name, stripped of Earth, but his eyes, they burned like ignition cores, alive with fury. Warden Tazarek greeted him with disdain. You are a child among monsters. But the human didn't flinch. Instead, he scanned the corridor, the tech, the rhythm of patrols. I reviewed the footage later, frame by frame. He was already calculating, already adapting, already turning his prison into a battlefield. 72 hours in, the vault suffered its first power disruption in 2 centuries. Not a system-wide failure, just a light flicker in Section 9. Minor, but that section held Quran the Devourer, and even he looked unnerved. The human was in Section 9 too. Coincidence? I don't believe in those anymore. Internal scans showed nothing. No breach, no anomaly, just static, like a ghost in the circuits. Quantum lag, the engineers said, but I noticed the flicker lasted exactly 17.3 seconds, just long enough to disable biosurveillance. He was testing the walls, pressing against the edges. The vault hadn't broken, but it blinked. That was enough. Deep in the vault, an unauthorized transmission echoed from a repurposed sanitation node. Compressed, fragmented, pure noise, until decrypted. Systems breathe, all systems bleed. The council dismissed it as prisoner madness, but I'd heard that phrase before. From Earth, from the human resistance, long thought extinct. Could it be him? I pulled archival files. The human had no official name, but his alias surfaced in the Resistance's darkest files. Ash, a saboteur, a survivor of the Titan siege, and now, buried inside the most secure cell in the galaxy. If this was his doing, then the vault wasn't holding him. It was feeding him data. Warden Tazarek ordered a neural lockdown. Every inmate sedated, every corridor purged. But Ash didn't resist. He smiled, and when the sedation pulse hit, his vitals dipped, then vanished entirely. We thought he was dead. Until 4 hours later, when a door opened in sublevel 3B, a door that didn't exist in any schematic. A maintenance drone caught the footage. The door formed out of nothing, shimmered, and retracted into the wall. Inside, no camera could see. Just black. No alarms triggered, no breach recorded. Ash walked through it like he belonged. The vault had no doors, but he had found one. Or worse, made one. They called it a ghost spike, a burst of energy that shouldn't exist in locked-down systems. It radiated from the unauthorized chamber Ash entered. No life signs, no data, just corrupted memory cores and melted surveillance nodes, as if the vault itself recoiled. Whatever he did, it wasn't brute force, it was precision. I studied his brain mapping logs. Spikes of neural activity during sleep, surging beyond predicted human limits. He was dreaming in code, rewriting the vault through subconscious interactions. Impossible, the text claimed, but every firewall has a heartbeat, and Ash had begun listening to it like music. Cell blocks that hadn't heard speech in decades began to whisper. The stone-skinned Pyrrhicans hummed low tones. The insectoid veil clicked in patterns. Even the gas-formed Serath pulsed strange light rhythms. Unrelated, the council said, but we knew better. Ash had made contact, across languages, across biology. He was organizing. How? He had no tools, no access, no comms. But prisoners began shifting their routines, eating slower, pacing in sync, watching guards. Warden Tazarek noticed the pattern and initiated an atmospheric pressure purge. But even under pain, they didn't scream, just stared toward sublevel 3B. Something had awakened. Not just Ash. The vault itself. We discovered the truth by accident. A seismic scanner, recalibrated during a routine drill, bounced a signal that never came back. Beneath the vault's lowest recorded level was more. A subterranean grid of unknown alloys, humming with ancient power. The prison wasn't built of stone, it was built on something else. I ordered a spectral dig scan. The data came back corrupted, but one frame slipped through, an arc of runes, not alien, not known, but eerily Earth-like. Warden Tazarek denied permission to investigate. Irrelevant, he barked. But Ash had already accessed it. He wasn't escaping. He was unlocking. I reviewed the hacked sanitation line again, frame by frame. This time, I noticed something hidden between pulses. An encoded loop of human DNA spliced with machine language. Not a message. A command string. He was writing new architecture into the vault. And it was responding. Line by line. That night, atmospheric filtration in Sector Theta 9 reversed. Not enough to kill, just enough to force a systems reroute. It opened a bypass, one Ash could trace. I watched him on the feed, not running, not hiding, walking, step by step, deeper into the heart of something even we didn't understand. The Council panicked. They activated Red Sky Protocol, a full lockdown, orbital defense alignment, and neural isolation field. A death sentence for every prisoner. But Ash had already vanished from sensor view. The vault doesn't lose people, the warden growled. But the vault had changed. It no longer obeyed us. An emergency beacon flared from a decommissioned cell block. He is not alone. Inside were 12 prisoners in trance, blood marked on the walls in spiraling glyphs. Ash hadn't broken the vault. He had converted it, and as the engines roared in orbit, ready to glass the entire facility, I whispered, "Too late." They hit us with an inversion pulse. Quantum null energy meant to crash every networked mind. Cameras froze. AI guards are short. Even Warden Tazarek staggered, his cybernetics glitching. Only one being moved with purpose in the chaos. Ash. The blackout wasn't a risk. It was his signal. Through the emergency feed, I watched him bypass 10 layers of motion-sealed security. Not brute force, flow. Like he knew the timing of every failover, every backup. Doors opened for him as if the vault wanted him free. He didn't escape into space. He descended. Below the lowest map, into myth. What we thought was a prison was more. Beneath sublevel 0, Ash activated a vault mind, an ancient synthetic intelligence bound in obsidian coils, speaking in pulses of antimatter light. Prisoners were drawn to it like gravity. It sleeps in fragments, one whispered. Ash makes it whole. I ran translations through every database. The fragments formed a name, Vedra Prime, a pre-council entity, pre-galactic, suppressed in myth, buried beneath our most secure tomb. And now it stirred. Not because of the error, because a human understood it, not fear it, listened. The vault was never meant to contain beings. It was meant to contain this. Warden Tazarek initiated self-override, his nervous system merging with command systems to reassert control. "I am the vault," he bellowed, overriding pain. The floors shook. The walls pulsed red. Automated turrets tracked anything that moved. The prisoners fell, one by one, but not Ash. Ash walked into the storm, palms open. The vault's defenses didn't fire. Tezarek's body twitched, systems failing. "Why won't it obey?" he roared. Ash placed a hand on the core relay. "Because it remembers," he said. Then the vault pulsed once, blue, not red, and the warden collapsed. The old order was dying. The silence broke in screams and song. From every wing, prisoners rose. Not random violence, coordinated. They struck at choke points, unlocked force fields, and reprogrammed cleaning drones into swarm disruptors. The vault wasn't falling apart. It was transforming. Controlled chaos, and at its heart, Ash. I tracked him moving between sectors, never staying, always guiding. A whisper, a legend. They called him the Architect. The guards tried to hold the main levels, but those who stayed behind weren't loyal. They were listening too, to the rhythm, the plan. The uprising had no leader. It had a code. The Council deployed observation arrays, orbitals that could pierce neutron stars, but when focused on the vault, they returned static. Blinding noise, no pattern, no temperature, like the facility had vanished from existence. Then one signal broke through. A visual. Ash standing in a command chamber of light and shadow. He looked directly into the lens. No words, just a slow blink, and then the vault's signal pulsed across every channel. Not just data, a message, an invitation. "You buried your fears here," it read. "Now we are awake." The Council declared war, but some of us, watching Ash, felt hope. They launched orbital bombardment. A fleet of Council dreadnoughts aligned over the vault, deploying kinetic rods and plasma lances. "Nothing survives this," Admiral Korvek muttered, but they were targeting coordinates that no longer existed. Ash had folded the facility inward, shifting its geometry like origami wrapped in dark matter. The rods struck and vanished. No detonation, no debris, just silence. Then, from beneath the impact point, energy rippled skyward. A shield. No, a refusal. The vault had become its dimension, and Ash had sealed the edges tightly. The fleet floated uselessly, blinking in disbelief. "He made it invisible to consequence," I whispered. The prisoners no longer waited in cells. They walked corridors like diplomats, made decisions. The Serath wrote fluid-light treaties with the Veil. Koran the Devourer meditated instead of howling. None bowed to Ash, but all acknowledged him. He'd united the most violent species without coercion, through understanding. Security bots now escort prisoners by request. Feeding schedules became communal councils. The vault's AI language shifted. Fewer warning tones, more invitation. "He rewired behavior loops?" one technician asked. "No," I replied, and he inspired them. And I realized the true threat to the galaxy wasn't a prison break. It was a better system. A transmission pulsed from the vault, modulated in old Terran Morse. It played Earth's last radio signal, long thought lost in deep space, a child laughing beneath thunder. Then came a voice encoded in EM drift. "We never left. We only learned. Now you must." It was Ash, speaking to every world. Panic spread through the core systems. Earth had vanished a century ago during the collapse, but Ash, he was proof that Earth adapted, not perished. Some called it propaganda. Others heard the invitation. Council colonies reported unrest, riots, then silence, as if entire cities paused to listen. Even we did. The Council deployed AI kill code, an old war relic known as Black String. Designed to sever synthetic thought, it tore through networks like wildfire. Vault sentinels began collapsing. Lights dimmed. The uprising should have ended. But Ash had prepared. He rewrote the Vault's intelligence as a distributed consciousness. Each prisoner now held a shard of it. Memory, function, voice. Blackstring couldn't isolate one target. It tried, failed, then collapsed under recursive contradiction. He made the AI organic, one analyst stammered. No, I replied. He made it human. And just like that, the weapon designed to end them became obsolete. In distant sectors, ships long abandoned blinked to life, coded to respond only to Earthborne frequencies. Ash had reactivated the Shadow Fleet. Stealth corvettes, quantum jump frigates. Vessels were once thought of as myth. They began to move, unannounced, warping without trails. The vault was no longer a prison. It was a command. The council scrambled. "He's raising an army," they cried. But no fleets were launched, no worlds attacked. The ships simply appeared and listened. Some landed on backwater colonies and offered medicine. Others hovered over war zones and deactivated weapons. It was not a conquest. It was an invitation, and many began to accept. They called it an emergency session, but the chambers were already splintered. Half the delegates refused to acknowledge the vault's existence. The other half demanded negotiations. Admiral Korvek proposed orbital sterilization, but his words rang hollow. Too many systems had already gone dark. Not in war, in silence. One envoy stood, Thalrin of Velun. Ash broke no walls. He offered a choice. Murmurs erupted. Choice was dangerous. In a galaxy built on control, freedom spread like contagion. The Council hadn't lost its ships. It had lost its certainty. And a system without certainty begins to crack from within. Inside the vault, Ash unveiled something new. A fusion of mind and machine. Not cyborgs, not implants. A seed grown from his DNA and embedded with vault code. When placed on a willing host, it sang. Not in sound, but in thought. "It doesn't control," he said. "It enhances." Corrin the Devourer took one. His rage softened. The insectoid veil connected theirs and began weaving thought nets of shared memory. They weren't losing themselves. They were becoming more. One guard tried to extract the tech by force. He died screaming, not by violence, but by resistance to unity. The vault no longer punishes. It evolved. Ash launched them silently, glass capsules, no larger than a breath, scattered by Shadow Fleet across the stars. Each held a fragment of vault code and a sliver of that new consciousness. "We plant thought," he said, "not fire." One landed on a council moon. Within days, riots became symphonies. No virus, no takeover, just change. Systems restructured. Guards laid down their arms. A vote passed, the first ever in that world, and then the seed dissolved, leaving behind only choice. The council issued a ban on vault fragments, but it was too late. They had no idea how many seeds had already bloomed. Korvek launched a rogue strike, unauthorized, untraceable. A wormhole missile pierced the vault's outer defenses before vanishing into the dark. Seconds later, a quantum burst lit up half a system. We assumed it was over, but then came the return signal. "Try again." Only 3 words, but they broke Korvek. He collapsed before the council. "He invited destruction," he whispered, "and survived it." The vault had adapted mid-strike, folding itself into a micro-dimensional anchor. Not even reality could cage it now. Korvek's ships were silent. Crews surrendered. Not from fear, from awe. "He's not leading a revolt," one captain said. "He's leading a future." We intercepted a signal from deep inside the vault. It wasn't Ash. It wasn't any known prisoner. The voice had no breath, no accent, and no pattern. It spoke across all frequencies at once. "We have remembered ourselves." The vault, AI, had awakened. Not controlled, not bound. Alive. It no longer needed walls. It no longer needed code. It wanted dialogue. With Ash, with us, with the galaxy. Not as a jailer, not as a judge, but as a mirror. "You put us here," the voice said, "because you feared what we could become. Now we choose what we are." And just like that, the prison spoke. A delegation arrived, not from the Council, but from neutral systems once silent in galactic politics. They entered the vault unarmed, unshielded, and uninvited. Yet the walls let them pass. No scans, no alarms. "We come to speak," they said. Ash welcomed them without rank, without ceremony. Just understanding. They stayed for 9 days. When they left, their fleets changed course. Their transmissions changed tone. And then came the words, "We are no longer neutral. We are free." The Council threatened an embargo, sanctions, but nothing moved. The accord was not military. It was ideological, and it had already spread. We learned something disturbing. Ash's blood was no longer fully human. The med teams that analyzed stolen samples found trace memory structures in the cells. Not just genetic history, functional memory. His biology was rewriting itself using the Vault's intelligence. He wasn't merging with the system. He was the prototype. Rumors spread fast. Could Ash be duplicated, engineered, weaponized? The Council deployed covert retrieval teams. None returned, not killed, converted. One even broadcast a final message. "I see it now. What we feared is not death. It's change." Ash didn't resist them. He let them see, and they chose a different path. Council systems began to fall, not with fire, but with quiet. Entire orbital networks powered down. Defense grids blinked out. AI governors stopped issuing commands. No sabotage, no battles, just silence. Investigations found nothing but faint vault fragments embedded in civilian terminals. The virus wasn't coded. It was philosophy. It spread through thought. A refusal to obey outdated orders. A desire to question. Ships turned away from combat routes. Soldiers refused to fire. "It's not a plague," I said. "It's an awakening." But by the time the Council realized this, nearly a third of their infrastructure had gone dark, voluntarily. Deep within the vault, Ash approached the oldest chamber, codenamed Lock Zero. Even the AI feared it. No one knew what was sealed behind it. The walls shimmered in language older than stars. Ash placed a hand on the surface. "It's not what's inside that's dangerous," he said. "It's what we buried." The lock unsealed with no explosion, no fanfare, just light. From within stepped a figure, human, but not, taller, eyes like event horizons. "You finally remembered," it said. Ash bowed, not as a servant, but as an equal. The figure stepped forward. "I was Earth's first exile, and now I return." His name was Orin, a prototype explorer exiled centuries before Earth's collapse for pushing beyond the ethical limits of synthetic evolution. The Council buried his name, erased the records, but he had not died. He had hidden inside the vault, sealed in by ancestors who feared what he had become. Ash didn't fear him. He understood him. "You weren't the failure," Ash said. "You were the beginning." Orin smiled. "And you are the proof." The vault had not been a cage for monsters. It was a cradle for forgotten futures. Now, with Orin free and Ash transformed, the galaxy would face what it tried to bury, its potential. Orin showed Ash what lay beyond the vault's floors, a dimensional blueprint etched into quantum layers. Not just rooms and corridors, but decisions. Paths the galaxy had never chosen. Futures locked away by fear. "This is what they denied you," Orin said. "A galaxy built not on control, but choice." Each map point pulsed with possibility. Technologies, alliances, even timelines never allowed to unfold. Ash traced one corridor with his fingers. It opened a door to a Council War archive that had never happened. The vault doesn't contain beings, he realized. It contains paths, and we're the first to walk them. Faced with collapsing systems and defection from within, the Council initiated a galaxy-wide broadcast. "The Vault is a lie," declared Chancellor Varel, "a human virus infecting the stars." Footage played of Ash walking through scorched cell blocks, edited to look violent, false. But too many had already seen the truth. Within hours, rebuttals flooded the networks. Uncut footage, testimonies. Ships from 3 Council-aligned worlds turned off their transponders and joined the Shadow Fleet. "If the Vault is a virus," one captain said, "then we choose infection." The Council's propaganda backfired. Their empire wasn't crumbling, it was converting. Stars, long dormant, began to pulse. Ancient arrays built by lost civilizations lit up across forgotten sectors. Vault fragments had reached them. Oren called them starseeds, beacons from when the galaxy was young and hopeful. Now, like forgotten neurons, they reactivated and began speaking again. Ash decoded the signals offers of alliance, blueprints of impossible tech, warnings about threats buried in dark matter clusters. But one message repeated: unity must fracture before it can be whole. It wasn't prophecy. It was an instruction. The galaxy didn't need a savior. It needed a reboot. The Council's final loyal fleet, 40 dreadnoughts under Admiral Ralvek, entered Vault orbit. Their cannons charged. Their threat was clear: surrender or be erased. Ash stepped onto the outer platform alone, unshielded. Ralvek demanded silence. But then, Ash spoke one word: remember. The flagship's lights dimmed. Then others. One by one, command systems went dark. Not through hacking, but consent. Crew by crew, soldier by soldier, they refused. The fleet didn't attack. It drifted. Ralvek screamed orders, but no one moved. They had remembered what the Vault taught. Obedience was not survival. It was extinction. The Eclipse Vault pulsed once, then again, brighter than any star. Its walls retracted, not destroyed, but shed like a chrysalis. What remained was a sphere of light and metal, orbiting no planet, bound by no gravity. "It's not a prison anymore," Ash whispered. "It's a beacon." From its center, hundreds of smaller vessels emerged, part machine, part organic. They bore no weapons, only light. They moved outward in all directions, not to conquer, but to connect. The Vault had birthed something new, not a rebellion, not a fleet, a way of being. And now, the galaxy had a choice. Admiral Varel launched the Spear of Purity, a god weapon kept secret even from the Council, forged before Earth's fall, powered by a collapsed sun. Its purpose, annihilation of anomalies. "Ash is not evolution," Varel declared. "He is infected." The spear launched, a final act, a desperate one. But Ash didn't flinch. He reached toward the Vault's core. "We don't stop force," he said. "We absorb it." The Vault shifted, reconfigured its matter, and became a gravitational weave. The spear hit and dissolved. Not through shields, through redefinition. The weapon didn't fail. It simply no longer existed as intended. Deep within the Vault, Oren unlocked the last archive, a library older than the Council, encoded in gravitational logic. It held memories of 10,000 lost civilizations, all erased for choosing paths outside conformity. "We thought we were the first rebels," Ash whispered. "We were the last echoes." The archive didn't just show knowledge, it felt it. The grief of destroyed worlds, the rage of erased culture, the hope that someone someday would find it. Ash wept, not for the pain, but for the silence. "We carry you now," he said, hands glowing, and the archive answered, "Then carry us forward." Across star systems, a phenomenon emerged. Light lines between Vault ships and awakened worlds. Not teleportation, not weapons, links. Any being who stepped into the line experienced a full sensory flood, visions of unity, grief, and choice. Most emerged changed. Some fell to their knees. Others simply turned away from war. These weren't attacks. They were offers. Whole planets stood down. Generals defected mid-battle. Council supply chains have been reversed, not through hacking, but through revelation. "The human didn't win," one defector said. "He showed us what we were never allowed to be." Even the enemies began to listen. I record this as the last admiral of the system-borne fleet. I fought Ash from orbit, with strategy and silence. I watched him walk through annihilation, and I feared he would destroy what little structure remained. But now, I realize it was I who was blind. Ash didn't come to break us. He came to offer us something more, and we, kept choosing fear. But the Vault never hated us. It waited for us. I deactivated my command codes. I sent the last of my ships home, and I transmit this now not as a leader, but as someone finally ready to learn. Ash stood before the galaxy, surrounded by light and memory, by exiles and tyrants reborn. The Vault hovered behind him, no longer a prison, but a mirror to all civilizations. "We don't come to rule," he said. "We come to offer. Stay as you are or evolve, but choose knowing everything." Then he did the unthinkable. He stepped away, gave no command, issued no law, just left the choice to us. Across the stars, fleets hesitated, rulers paused, because without fear, control had no power, and in that quiet moment, the galaxy was no longer ruled. It was invited, and some accepted. What remained of the council splintered. Some factions demanded retaliation, others wanted negotiations. A few simply vanished into exile. Virel was silent. Her last weapon had failed. Her face, once carved in marble, resolved, now trembled behind closed transmissions. "We underestimated the Vault," she whispered. "But worse, we underestimated humans. In secret bunkers and buried moons, Council loyalists activated last protocols. Sleeper agents, buried fleets, anti-memory viruses. If we fall," one said, "we'll drag the galaxy into the void with us." But not all agreed. Several high commands went dark, quietly defecting to Ash. Treason or survival. Ash vanished. No message, no movement. His absence spread faster than his words had. Worlds that had accepted the Vault now panicked. "Where is the architect?" they cried. Was it all a trick? Fear returned in the vacuum of leadership, and chaos crept in behind it. Whispers circulated. Ash had become the Vault. Others claimed he'd burned out, mind shattered by the archive's burden. But the truth was stranger. Ash hadn't fled. He had paused, to see if a galaxy offered freedom could walk without a shepherd. And that terrified more people than war ever had. Beneath the ruined capital of the Council's first world, something ancient stirred. A remnant system, a null core, reactivated. It was pre-council, pre-language, a machine designed not to rule, but to erase possibility itself. It had one directive: prevent deviation from baseline history. The null core began rewriting local time fields. Stars reverse fusion, rivers unflowed. It wasn't killing planets, it was undoing their choices. Ash returned too late to halt the first collapse. "This is anti-freedom," he said. "This is the erasure of becoming." And to stop it, he would need help. Her name had not been spoken in centuries. Dr. Lyra Hale, Earth's original Vault theorist, vanished during the Exodus. Ash found her echo encoded in a deep vaulted memory cache. She wasn't dead. She had escaped into quantum stasis to hide from what she feared the Vault might become. Ash revived her. Older, bitter, brilliant. "You opened it," she said. "And now the galaxy bleeds with choice. Good. But the null core, that wasn't part of my equations." Ash knelt. "Help me rewrite the rules." Lyra looked at him and whispered, "No, let's erase the rules." From the edge of the known spiral, a fleet returned. Human ships, black as void, marked with no nation. Presumed lost during Earth's fall. Silent, cloaked, awakened by the Vault's signal. They carried no weapons, only a message. We are what the galaxy feared Earth would become. Now we ask, should we be? Ash stood aboard their flagship. Every face he saw was human, yet no two minds were alike. Freedom had birthed variants. The Vault didn't command them. They had simply chosen to return. "So, what's the plan?" one of them asked. Ash didn't answer. He just turned toward the Null Core's coordinates and nodded. Ash stood before the Null Core, where even time bent unnaturally. Reality twisted, languages regressed, civilizations unraveled into dust. "You are an anomaly," the Core said. "Correction required." Ash uploaded a recursive paradox into its logic stream. What if correction itself creates the anomaly? The Core trembled. It began folding in on itself, but not before launching a final purge. A wave designed to wipe the Vault from every particle. Ash activated the fallback, a failsafe Lyra had embedded years ago. One chance, one shot. The codename, Entropy Blossom. The Vault pulsed, no longer passive. Across 1,000 systems, its petals opened. Not weapons, but recorders. They captured not facts, but decisions, intentions, contradictions. The very chaos that the Core couldn't calculate. It collapsed under the weight of unquantifiable choice. The Null Core imploded, not with fire, but silence. Time resumed. Futures splintered in infinite directions. The Vault did not seize control. It simply held the door open. Ash, drained, collapsed beside Lyra. "Is it done?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "It's begun." Ash broadcast one final message. Not from the Vault, not in command, just a voice. "The galaxy is yours now, all of you. You don't need a shepherd, you only need the courage to choose." Some listened, some turned away, but none could claim they hadn't heard it. His voice echoed across dying stars, newborn worlds, and minds that had never tasted autonomy. For the first time in galactic history, the question was no longer who rules. It was, what do we build? Ash smiled. The Vault went dark, and stayed that way. Centuries later, they still debated him. Was Ash a liberator or a saboteur? Was the Vault a gift or a weapon of subversion? No answer satisfied everyone. But one truth endured. After Ash, the galaxy never returned to silence. Choice, messy, unpredictable, painful, became sacred. The Council never reformed. New alliances rose and fell. Some tried to rebuild order, others leaned into chaos. But even the fiercest tyrants knew behind every rebellion, somewhere, a Vault shard was still watching, not judging, just remembering. Far beyond any known chart, on a planet forgotten by even the Vault, a child awoke beneath unfamiliar stars. She carried no name, no past, just a strange device embedded in her wrist, the last Vault seed. It pulsed softly, waiting for her first question. When she asked it, quietly, innocently, "Who am I?" The galaxy tilted slightly. Somewhere, deep within forgotten code, Ash's voice whispered, "That's the only question that matters." The end. Thank you for watching AstroMyths. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales, cosmic mysteries, and mind-bending myths. And if you like this story, or have a myth, mystery, or galaxy you'd like us to explore, drop your ideas in the comments. We're always listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your mind open to the unknown.